I am super excited to be part of the IOD Summer 2025 release party. I am using the new, amazing, super detailed Heraldry Mould, and I can't wait for you to see what I do with it. For the background, I'm going to be using this Monoham paper. It's called Common Please, and I use this pretty often for backgrounds of most of my projects. And then I am using an IOD 8x10 wood gallery blank. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get this painted white using White Swan by DIY Paint. I'm going to decoupage the paper onto it, and we will go from there. I'm going to seal it with Big Tap Sealer. Now let's take a look at the layout. I have cast the pieces in black resin. I find myself using that more and more because I find that it saves a step in the aging process. So I have cast the crown, the rose, both wings, and then I've used one of the conservatory labels. Place those around there, and then I will add some wording with the little plate that I have cast. Because I want my molds to pop off of my page, I like to do kind of like a whitewash on the background. So I'll just take some white paint and drag it. Some areas I'll go heavier than others. I think the product I was most excited about is the Waltz stamp. We have needed a music stamp for the longest time, and the wait was worth it because this is amazing. So I'm going to use this now to add even more interest to the background. The first time you open up a stamp, it's a really good idea to season it. So just take a sanding block and gently scrape over the surface of the stamp. And that just helps it to accept the medium better. And that's all you're going to need to do to prep it. I have a sheet of watercolor paper, which is textured on one side. It's pretty heavy, and then the other side is smooth. I'm actually going to work on the textured side. I'm going to use Pale Gold Metallic Paint by Paint Couture, and I'm going to stamp this right on this paper. And I'm Isn't that just gorgeous? So what I'm looking to do is I want to make it look like the mold elements were mounted to this music paper, and then that music paper is mounted to this board. The sides will get painted black, and some black will be brought into the top of it. I'm going to take a pencil where I want to tear it because I'm going to actually curl the edges too. So I think I'm going to go right to about here. And then I'm just going to tear the edges kind of close to the paper. So that piece, I may not go all the way across the top. Now what I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to just take my brayer and I'm going to run it along these edges so my paint's still wet. So I've got both sides done. I've got my paper cut to size, but I'm going to seal this board. And then the final size of this, I ended up trimming it again off camera. So the final size is like 7 by 8.5, roughly. And that's because I'm not going to curl in the sides at all. I'm just going to curl the bottom and the top. And I think that will be fun. So I'm going to dry this and paint the sides black. I like to take a baby wipe and just wipe along that edge. And some of that black comes onto the top of the piece. And acts as a little bit of a vignette. Because I have the big top on there, I can actually control. I'm going to work a little bit on the paper. I don't want it to be perfect, and I do want the edges to curl. So I'm going to grab a long-handled paintbrush. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to roll this edge. And I'm not going to want this paper to look new either. That's kind of fun. I'm going to take my Distress ink and a blending tool, and I'm going to blend on the back. Just get some aging on there. So there's some angles you may be able to see that edge curled up. And then I'm going to bring some onto the front of my paper as well. And I'm happy with it like that. I'm going to take my walnut and just go a little bit more heavy on that edge. It's time to paint the molding pieces, and I'll paint one of them on camera, but the rest will all be painted the same. I'm using DIY paint in Prairie Gray and then some Sandy Blonde. Some crinoline, which is a cream color, and then I will eventually add the white. So I'm going to start with the Prairie Gray. Got it on there. And now I'm going to dry that. Take that same brush, get some Sandy Blonde. I'll dry that. And then the crinoline. And I'm just hitting the high points. let me dry that. And that's what we would have so far. So I'm going to finish those pieces and be right back. I'm going to seal all of the mold pieces with Big Top. Yeah, I like that. It's making the board look aged in a similar way as the paper is. We're going to add the watercolor paper. I got some parchment paper handy because I'm not going to want to take my dirty hands and lay that on there. So I'm going to use matte gel medium over here, right onto the back of my paper. And then I'm going to take the parchment paper, smooth it out. Hope I got it. Looks pretty good. So I just got it in the center there. And as long as that's attached, that's all that matters to me. And that's where we'll end up. And can I say that I could not love it more than I do? Now that it's all set, one of the hardest parts is figure out the wording. So I've decided on Wings of Love. It doesn't fit perfectly, but I'm going to have to just kind of trim it so that. So I just reprinted this. The original font, I think, was 14. I went all the way up to 24. And I'm going to see what I think of that. And I think that that's going to be what I like. Not necessarily going to be everybody's cup of tea. Kind of just going kind of like that, where it's just a little wonky. And then it'll go right in the center. And I'm super happy with that. The last decision that I need to make is, do I want to add a bow? So I've got this tea stained vintage seam binding. And I just did like a triple loop bow that I would attach. Nope, not there. I'm not sure. I almost think that's where it would need to go. That's where it needs to go, right there. And